How do you prepare for your best workday? Welcome to Tea at Taxevity, where you get insights from insiders who make life better, our many clients and friends. I'm Pramod Sharma, the actuary at the Taxevity Insurance Advisory, and when I'm not doing interviews, I help people transfer financial risks with life and health insurance. Our guest today is Paul Boston. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. What do you do when you're not being interviewed?
When I'm not, well, there's
on the rare occasions.
Lots of things I do, but professionally, I train and coach people and teams and organizations on the high performance skills athletes use. So basically, I take all that performance knowledge that high performance athletes use and bring it into the workplace.
Okay, question about that. What do you know about high performance athletics?
Well, I spent my whole life basically in sports. So I was a competitive, wrestler in high school. Then I actually got into bodybuilding, and then that led me into triathlons in my mid-20s. And at that time, I started my professional career. So I was working in the very fast-paced world of marketing and advertising. And I started to see parallels with performance challenges, my athletic life versus my professional life. Yet the professional world really lacked the professional performance skills that really enable people to perform at their best. Where my triathlon world, I was learning all these rich performance skills from coaches and athletes that allowed me to excel and move up the world ranking in triathlon. And I ended up going to the World Triathlon Championships representing Canada.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, and I think your background gives some interesting perspectives for our topic, which is how to prepare for your best workday. What is success in a workday?
Success in a workday is, success in general, if we want to take a step back, is very personal. So, when I talk to people, I said, do you really have, your success plan? Because we spend a lot of time preparing our, success plan for our career and maybe for schooling, but what does it really mean to you as an individual? So I really get people to stop before they even get into the office and think about, what are those top 3 goals that they want to accomplish that day? And that gets them kind of in that mindset framing around, where do I really need to spend my time and energy? Because we live in a world of great distraction. So I can go into the workplace and I can have my list of to-dos, but all of a sudden, my phone's ringing, if your phone still rings in your office place. I'm checking my emails or I'm checking my smartphone for messages, and then people are stopping by. So if we have that clear sense of what it is we want to do each and every day, that's really where it starts.
Okay, what sort of things might people want as a definition of success?
Again, that could be very personal. So I could have my success framework is leading that work-life balance. So I want to be able to work at a really good company, spend time with my friends and family outside of work, 9 to 5. People I work with that are more career-driven, their goal is maybe to, be a director in 2 years, and then, 5 years out, they want to be at that VP level. So again, very personal, but again, using performance skills that allow them to reach that level of high-level performance.
Okay, I can understand that people have different goals, and I was more of let's climb the ladder, and then you realize the ladder is up against the wrong wall.
Right, yeah, the old Stephen Covey notion.
Right,
yeah.
but so people have different goals, but how would that affect what I do during the day? I still have to do things. My longer-term goals don't seem that relevant.
So when we basically anchor ourselves on those goals that are related to what's really valuable to us, it allows us to say yes to things that are very important. So where do I want to spend my time and energy, and no to the things that maybe aren't so important. So again, if you're that corporate climber, you're going to say yes to things that are going to allow you to advance your career, and maybe you're going to say no to other things. Maybe it's you're saying no to hanging out with your buddies after work in a bar drinking. So it's really giving you a sense of obviously prioritizing, but prioritizing around those values that are important to you. So you made that great analogy about the ladder against the right wall. It's always making sure you're climbing that ladder against that right wall.
Okay, that makes sense. So there may be a project that I could do, and it would be extra work and there wouldn't be a lot of reward for it right now. So if I'm focused on work-life balance, then I don't want to do that project. But if I'm trying to climb the ladder, then I want to do that project because it'll position me for future success.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and it allows people to be very conscious of where they're using their time because, again, we can't do. There is a bit of a myth that we can have a balanced life, but if you're really a very focused and driven person, that goal that you're going after will require sacrifice, and that's kind of a it's a different path. But again, those two people that are walking those different paths, their vision of success is very different.
Okay, so we have our definition of success, and then what do we do regarding the day? Do we specify a certain number of goals? Like what's the approach?
Um, it's really reviewing those goals for the day, and just believe it or not, when you just review them first thing in the morning when you get up, and then you get to the office or wherever it is you're working, and you just start working away, it starts to change the wiring in your mindset. So the more you do that, the more you're conscious of where you're spending your time and energy. So you're not getting distracted as easily. There's always going to be distractions. One of the biggest performance challenges in the workplace is people's ability to stay focused. So when people are able to stay focused on those meaningful goals, the job, the work, whatever it is they're doing, it's going to be much more valuable and enriching for them and also the company they work for.
Having goals does make sense, and 2 or 3 looks like a manageable number. When do you come up with those goals? Is it the night before, the week before? Do you plan daily? What's the process typically?
So again, in a corporate setting or in an organizational setting, it's really establishing those goals at the beginning of the year and then reviewing them. So it's reviewing them maybe every month with your manager, but then you as the individual, it's reviewing the action steps that you have to take each week. So a great exercise is every Sunday night, review what you have to do that week. And then each night, review what you've accomplished. Because it's one thing to set the goals, but again, we were so busy, so frantic sometimes in our days, we actually forget what we accomplish. So I always get my clients to basically write in a performance journal. So they'll write down their goals for that day, and then at night, they'll write down things that they're grateful for. So again, you're starting to see results towards those bigger goals immediately, as opposed to a traditional performance review happens 6 months out and then 12 months out from the year. That doesn't hold weight. It never has really worked. But if we look at the way high performance athletes work, they got their goals, but they're reviewing the process to get to the goals. They're reviewing their accomplishments, and they're also reviewing the challenges, because we can't neglect the challenges or even failures or setbacks, because that's really where the growth happens.
Okay. I understand the importance of writing down goals, and I can understand the value of reviewing the goals at the end of the day, but you talked about being grateful, and I don't quite understand where that fits in.
Grateful, it really goes back to that gratitude mindset. So we can get caught up in trying to achieve a goal, and sometimes we set these very big goals, the typical New Year's resolution, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And, getting towards those goals, it's always about the small steps, the small accomplishments. So when we start to write down a gratitude list each day, we start to realize, this is what we're thankful for, and this is also what we're accomplishing towards that bigger goal. So we're seeing progress that's happening immediately. And so it's basically that positive reinforcement that, we're growing, we're moving towards that goal. Or, we've discovered something new, again, we tend to think very linear.
Right.
But a lot of times, we can have this great path all planned out, but when we start walking it, different opportunities come because different challenges and different things present itself. So again, being grateful for what you've accomplished gives you that extra sense of accomplishment, but also motivation and engagement in the workplace. There's a lot of disengagement in our modern day work world for various reasons. But being able to be grateful for what you've accomplished that day really helps you, again, feel better about the work you do, but also bring a better service or a better, product to your company.
I find that life gets hectic, and I'm grateful that the day is over, but that's probably not the sort of thing you'd put on your gratitude list. What sort of things would go there?
Gratitude really comes down to, the small wins, as I like to call them. So say, you're my client, and, we met at a networking event, a few months ago, and we've been trying to get together, and I've called you, half a dozen times, and you're leading this very busy life, and then all of a sudden, maybe it's Friday afternoon at 10 to 4, and I thought, I'm going to give you another call, see if you're there. Boom, we connect, we have this wonderful conversation, and we set up a meeting for next Wednesday to meet and discuss, next steps in our business plan. And so that, I'm grateful that I finally connected with you. And so all that work I put in just to making that one connection, wow, it's worth it, because we had this great conversation and we set up a meeting.
Okay, interesting. Now, you mentioned that we face a lot of distractions during our workday. How do we say no?
Saying no is really coming back to being very crystal clear on the goals and the things you want to accomplish that year, that month, or that week. Mm-hmm. If we look at very high-low performing people in business, so the Richard Bransons, the Donald Trump, they're very good at focusing on the key things that they have to do day in and day out that really drive them towards those bigger goals for the year. So again, it's being crystal clear on what success is for you, and then what are those goals that you have to accomplish that it's going to take you in that direction.
Do you find that people are engaged in the workplace these days?
I meet and talk to people in organizations. Some organizations have high engagement rates, and then some people have low engagement rates. And what I've noticed, the people that do have those higher employee engagement rates have really made that concerted effort to have their managers to act more as a coach towards the team members. Oh. So people are being, again, coached like you would coach an athlete. So I'm checking in with you, just not at the 6-month review point, but weekly to see, how are things going? Are there any challenges? What are some of the solutions you've come up with these challenges? So it's the way we're approaching the people dynamic of the workforce that's making a big difference.
Okay. And do you find that people are not getting the level of coaching that they need?
I often look at organizations and businesses, if they kind of follow that traditional model that was great back when, we had a very stable work economy where we weren't in a very competitive world market. They're using that template of, annual reviews and biannual reviews. It just doesn't work. So empowering the actual manager at the ground level to do the performance reviews, to do the compensation, really goes a long way now to creating that team, but in creating that engagement within the workplace.
Mm-hmm. It does seem that the business world is moving a lot faster than before. What can people do so that they can keep pace?
Really, if there's one skill, I always say to people that come to my workshops, is if there's one skill you can take away and start practicing and using tomorrow, it's that ability to stay focused. So that one ability just opens up a whole door of opportunity to other things. So your motivation increases, your quality of work increases. So it's that ability to stay focused on the work that you do. And when you master that, and some more progressive companies are creating what we call silent rooms. So if I have to write something strategically, I'm going to go off into this room and sit down and get myself into what we call a state of flow. And then again, we're kind of getting into another...
That sounds athletic too.
It's amazing. It came from the world of athletics, and it's being mindful in what we're doing. So again, progressive companies, organizations such as the Googles out there, they're starting to teach their employees how to be mindful. So really slowing down what they're doing and be mindful in the work that they're doing. So it's giving that care and attention that it really needs. And again, that goes a long way to producing quality work, but also enjoyment at the individual level.
Okay, those sound like some very good suggestions that you've given us. Is there something else that you would like to add?
It's an unknown world that we're entering into, and rapid pace of change in the way the global economy is forming. There's a lot of challenges. There's lots of opportunity. I don't think this is the time to shy away, especially in the Canadian market. I think we're such a small country in a world economy that we really have to be world class in whatever it is that we do to compete on the world stage. So that revolves around learning, again, new skills to bring into the workplace, allowing people to take more risks. So prudent risks, for example.
Yes.
So nothing careless, but something very prudent that's going to benefit the business or their clients that they service, and giving people that opportunity to, again, expand their skills, but also to keep things relevant and moving forward. So again, lots of opportunity out there. There's still a lot of hesitation, a lot of almost fear with people within organizations because there's a lot of uncertainty too with all the change. But again, learning the new skills, learning a new way of managing and leading people really distinguishes, great companies from okay companies. And it really comes down to the talent in the workplace and how it's being utilized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I've noticed that in the past, we'd have these big HR budgets and you can go and get training, etc. And it would be as if HR would pick what people needed to do, or they'd pick the providers, etc. But nowadays, there's so much that we can learn on our own. It's almost like we're empowered to do more, and we don't have to wait for HR to tell us that we should do this. We can figure out things through YouTube and other sources. Do you find people are doing that now?
Yeah, that's a great comment, because we do live in this information age. There's lots of information out there. That is a great place to start. But one of the key perks, if people are asked, why do I love working at this company, or what really engages me, it's the investment the leadership team puts into training its employees and keeping them educated and keeping them up to speed. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be more and more of a demand for quality and certain qualities of training and education within the workplace. We talk a lot about the term coaching in the workplace, and coaching is a skill set, and there's different models depending on where your career stream has taken you, but eventually we'll get to a spot where we won't even talk about coaching, because it's going to just be a given that if you're my manager, you're going to have these skills, and that's the way we're going to interact. I'm not going to say, oh, sit down, let's have a coaching session. It's just the way we're going to interact from the day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that sounds like a great future to move towards.
Yeah, and you know what? And the great thing about the rapid pace of change, that future is not that far away.
That's a positive way of looking at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the best way for people to reach you?
I can be reached at actisperformance.com. That's my website. Or they can call me at 416-429-1247.
Thanks for dropping by, Paul.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us for Tea at Taxevity. The Taxevity Insurance Advisory helps you understand insurance and bridges gaps in your coverage. There's no premium for peace of mind. How healthy is your insurance?